Counties are encouraged not to withhold vaccines from targeted groups with the excuse of holding for the second dose. The second AstraZeneca dose is to be administered between 8 and 12 weeks from the first dose. And it's our expectation that the second consignment will be in time for the second dose. And therefore, there is no need of holding in the first, at this time, within the first phase. So that if you get 2,000 doses, you are supposed to administer to 2,000 people, not 1,000, and then you hold the other 1,000. And this is part of the information that Kenyans are seeking, wondering why we are saying that vaccines are running out, yet they know that we have not administered. We have only reached about 200, just over 200,000 people. 8. The committee has taken notice of information that some countries wish to put us on the red list. NARC recommends that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs takes up the matters where necessary to find out the details of such listing of Kenya, and NARC recommends, where appropriate, we will have a reciprocal, where appropriate, a reciprocal arrangement will be adopted. 9, and finally, there will be need for upscaling of communication, both of COVID-19 and deployment of vaccines to ensure that the public is better informed. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the resolutions of the National Emergency Response Committee, and I am sure that there will be one or two things that you may want to clarify on this one, even before the distribution of the current status of COVID-19 is concerned. Clearly, of course, there is a connection between the actions that we are taking today and the situation in the country as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Today, we again encounter a high of 19% positivity rate, which, as you know, is also quite high. And this is high even when we have got a high number of tests of some 9,600 or so, with about 1,800. You'll get the exact figure as they are distributed to you. We also now have increases in the numbers that we have in ICU. We stand at about 181 people who are in ICU, most needing oxygen, and therefore the matters related to COVID-19 are still high priority. And I know that Kenyans may wonder why we keep on talking about this issue day in, day out, getting tired, but I would like to reiterate that the risks are so high that this is what we must do, and the communication is what we must continue engaging yourselves with. So I want to stop there. We will give you the statistics, but meanwhile, if there is any clarification necessary, please, this is your opportunity.
Helen Shikanda from Daily Nation. I have two questions. The first one is on the vaccines that are supposed to be brought to the country.
Please speak up.
Helen Shikanda from Daily Nation. I have two questions. The first one is on the vaccines that are supposed to be brought to the country. Last time, Dr. Mwangangi said that the country is likely to procure Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer and Moderna. But today, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board have mentioned Covaxin and Sinopharm. So what's the correct position? And then the other question is that Kenya has been put on the red list by the United Kingdom. So what does it mean for Kenyan citizens?
Dorcas Wangira from Citizen TV, and I have three questions. One, what has informed the decision to revoke the licenses of private importers bringing in the vaccines? We already have distributors who have the vaccines already, and what is going to happen? And in terms of the element of choice, not just for Kenyans but even foreigners who live in this country who had preferred going for the private vaccination, where does this leave them? And then what is the status of the oxygen shortage that you had mentioned earlier this week? And then for Dr. Hwale, you had mentioned that the Kenya Medical Practitioners Council would release the list of accredited clinics, particularly for Sputnik V. So with this new development, is this still going to happen?
Okay, final, if there is one. Okay, let me just start with Helen on the issue of Johnson, the ones that the Poisons Board. Let's separate two things. The issue of approval of use of a vaccine in the country. And yes, we still have at the world level, at the World Health Organization, they are still looking at Johnson & Johnson. They are still looking at others, including the Russian ones, the Sputniks. So let's separate the process of approvals so that if necessary and if they are available, we can use them. You know, for instance, AstraZeneca was cleared by the PPB so that we can be able to use it in the country. And the rest of them have to go through the same process. Now, whether we get these vaccines under the COVAX arrangement, or whether we get them under the EU arrangement, or whether we get them through a bilateral arrangement with other governments, we still have to clear them for approval for use in Kenya through the PPB. I think that is clear. Now, at the same time, there is an issue, and I want to tie it up with what Doc has asked about the private use. As you yourselves are aware, since you come from the same media that have been writing about these things, there has been lack of clarity in terms of the administration of the second window. And a couple of things informed this decision. First, we want Kenyans to be absolutely clear that the vaccines being used in Kenya have been cleared by two institutions. The first institution is the World Health Organization, and the second institution is the PPB. So if a vaccine has not been cleared, the policy that we have adopted is that if a vaccine has not been cleared by the World Health Organization, it will not be used in Kenya, whether it is being used in other countries or not. So currently, the one that is the second window one that had been introduced in Kenya is cleared by PPB, but not yet cleared at the World Health Organization. That's one. The second thing is that we do not currently have an infrastructure to create sufficient transparency to ensure that we have got a stream of paid for vaccines and a stream of free vaccines. We cannot administratively ensure that the free vaccines are not at some point going to be converted into paid vaccines. And we have already started those kind of hearing those kind of accusations and so on. The third thing that also informs it is when the council, when the council went round to inspect all these facilities, I think one of the things that comes out is that each vaccine has got some very specific requirements for storage and distribution and so on. And we are not quite sure that at the moment we can, as a government, say that we are sure that that is in place. So, in a nutshell, our job, our first responsibility to Kenyans is to secure lives. And the second requirement is to secure property. But as we said during the NAC meeting, we must ensure that protection of the use of vaccines is the first and foremost on the list. The oxygen shortage in the country continues, Dorcas, to be something of concern. we are still concerned about the shortage of oxygen. What we have done at the moment is that we have ceased production of industrial. We have ceased supplying the industries so that we can first take care of our patients. But sooner than later, we are going to be, hopefully, when it comes down, we can restart the supply of oxygen. I don't know whether Dr. Akwale or Dr. Amoth, you want to add anything to the questions? I think there was one for the red list. I think I mentioned that the National Emergency Response Committee also discussed that particular aspect. As you know, nations across the world list in accordance with their assessment of the risk of the nationals of the different countries. So yes, we have been told today that Kenya is going to be put on the UK red list from next week. We have asked our Ministry of Foreign Affairs to engage the British so that we can provide clarity of exactly what that means, whether there will be Kenyans traveling to the UK or not. We know that for sure trade and industry, trade and commerce will continue because the cargo flights will not be stopped. But we will leave that for now to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And once they advise us, and we also are looking at the situation in the UK and elsewhere in Europe. And as you know, we have also gotten the UK variant in our country. We have noticed it also. So decisions will be made based on national interests and based on the science that and evidence that informs the decisions that we make. There was a question, or I think it's Dr. Akwale who had been asked a question.
Yeah, thank you, CS, and is relating to the list that would have been used in case the deployment of Sputnik continued. So, as I indicated there was a committee formed, and it is still there, to look at the overall framework for the deployment of vaccines imported through the private sector. And one of those requirements was to do with the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council to clear. However, as the NAC met, we had information of people even getting vaccinated outside health facilities. And earlier in the week, you also saw advertisement of these vaccines. So the NAC considered all that, and in the interest of the safety of Kenyans, decided to adopt, to stop this. Now this is the announcement that has been made. And further, we are happy that they have also adopted what the task force was recommending, that they must be WHO approved. So this is now the stand of NAC, and as a task force, this is the way we want to proceed. Thank you.
Doctor?
Thank you, Waziri. Just in addition is to assure you and reiterate, as Waziri has said, that those who took the Sputnik vaccine are assured of their second dose. You are going to work with the importer together with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board and the vaccination centers to ensure that those who have received the vaccine will get their second dose. But remember also, in a pandemic situation, the national public health security takes precedence over anything else, including business demands. Therefore, the decision made by the National Emergency Response Committee is very sound, based on International Health Regulations 2005. Regarding oxygen, of course, you know, oxygen is a critical element in management of severe COVID disease. And as the numbers rise, demand for oxygen will increase. And as Waziri has said, we have reduced the supply to the industry, but the counties are also ramped up their capacity to be able to provide piped oxygen and portable oxygen, either through cylinders or oxygen concentrators. And already we are seeing fruits of the containment measures, and we hope in the next 1 or 2 weeks the situation will get back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Dorcas. Say that again. Where is the mic? You can shout, Dorcas, and we can hear you.
So that's one.
Okay. Just for clarity and emphasis, you've mentioned the people who are going to get the second doses, but what about the doses that have not yet been utilized? And then second, there are those who are already saying that is this one of the government just wanting to monopolize this vaccination, yet earlier there was a commitment to include the private sector. And then lastly, still on this vaccine, where was the lapse? If at all, why would we allow a vaccine into the country that the WHO has not yet approved, because they already got into the country instead of it not having been in the country in the first place?
Go first.
Thank you. I will answer the one about unutilized doses. Remember, like countries that like UK, which is actually the leader in administration of AstraZeneca vaccine, they have administered more than doses. Every time you administer a vaccine, simply put, for the second time, means you are not vaccinating somebody for the first time. So we want to cover as much ground in terms of the people as possible. And that is why we have the window of opportunity of even extending the second dose from 8 weeks up to 12 weeks, so that you get more people covered by the first dose. Because the first dose, after you get it, within 10 to 14 days, you start mounting an immune reaction which offers you protection. So essentially, it's just trying to cover a larger fraction of the population as we await the second dose. But we have that window of even extending the second dose from 8 weeks to 12 weeks, and it has worked, and we believe it will still work in our setup.
I think the other thing to add is that as far as any sort of issue, no matter what issue arises, no matter what approvals or otherwise may have been made, of Kenyans must be made supreme. It does not matter, what else, what other consideration, can be made. And as I said, we protect people and we protect property, but first we protect people. Thank you very much.